Good day, all you podcasters out there in Podcastville. Once again, this is Pastor Rex Johnson from Austin, Texas, and we have begun something that we feel very good about, and that is reaching out to you with hope, with life, with faith, and with love. And we always base what we do in these podcasts on great attitudes, people that made it in life with tremendous attitudes. There's a man in the Bible, and we'll introduce him one day on these podcasts, that his only job in the Bible, his only calling was to change the outlook of people in their life. And so that's what this podcast is about, just to come to you and say, hey, we're here to try to bring a little hope, bring a little love, bring a little joy, bring a little leadership, bring a little life. And we do it by changing your outlook on life. So we're happy today. We're so happy today to have not one, but two wonderful people. You know, Dr. Clint Phillips was with us the first week, and then Dale Wainwright was with us the second podcast. But here we are today on number 3, and I've got two wonderful people sitting here with me. I have Pastor Kelly Howard and his wonderful wife, Debbie, and they're here with us today on this wonderful voyage that we're doing, and every week we're learning something new about it. Got a great cameraman, Kevin Pope, but here we are today, and March is Traumatic Brain Injury Awareness Month. It's all over the nation, and in this session today, we're going to talk about one of those situations that happened to Pastor Kelly, and also which included his wonderful wife, Debbie. We're going to speak on that today. But first of all, let me just introduce these two wonderful people. They came to us in 2016, and they have been with us 6 years, and what a 6 years of bliss. And I hope when you're here 7, you don't get the 7-year itch. You know what I'm saying? But we're happy to have you, Pastor Kelly.
We are so glad to be here. It's been a blessing.
It's an honor to have you today, and to have you the way you are today. What a joy.
I'm excited.
What a joy. And Debbie, we're delighted to have you. Debbie's a part of our team. She's part of our office staff, and we're happy to have you, Debbie.
Well, it is an honor to be here, Pastor, and it is an honor to serve on the staff. I call this place my happy place. And
you do.
Truly
you created that.
Yes. It truly is my happy place.
You created that, my happy place. And now I tell everybody, I'm going to my happy place because Debbie called it that.
Yes.
So what we're going to talk about today, we're going to talk about, first of all, number one, Pastor Kelly, you kind of have a love, an abiding love for sports. And so I thought, how could we make this a sports-related moment in our life? So you like football, and you like certain football teams, and they're not in Texas.
That's right.
You were born in Denver, Colorado,
Yes,
and
sir.
you are a Denver Bronco.
I am a Bronco fan.
Not worshiper. You worship Jesus,
yes,
but you're
right.
a Denver Bronco fan.
Always have been.
And so we're just gonna put this in 4 quarters, okay? In 4 quarters, we're just gonna break it down, how a game is played and how a game happens and how it comes about. And so let's just kick the ball off right now. Let's kick the ball off, and let's talk about quarter one. Quarter one is really a little bit of the history of you folks and where you came from and where you were and pastored and how you arrived in Austin. And of course, we want to cover her situation. So why don't you just take the lead and just tell us a little bit about what we want to do to introduce y'all today.
In 1979, I went to a church in Modesto, California. It was a Pentecostal church. And as I walked in, they were worshiping, having a great time. I found that it enthused me. I was into it, and I got involved in it, started going to the revival that was going on. And I remember walking up to the organ as this beautiful girl was playing during
uninvited,
not invited
during
the altar call. I didn't know protocol at the time, but I just thought she was beautiful. And I came and sat next to her on the platform during the altar time. And I put my arm around her. I said, "You'll be my friend, won't you?" And she was straightened up so much, and she just got nervous. And I thought, well, what is she so nervous about? I had no idea. But you know what? We made history.
We made history.
We made
That's
history.
right. Yeah.
Yes.
And she started dating me.
Yes.
I asked her out, And from there, the history's just
41 years.
41 years.
Marital bliss.
We started knocking on doors together, bus ministry, and pretty soon, the next thing you know, I'm full-time ministry at the church, and she's right along my side, and we did everything together. So
what a joy.
Tell me a little bit about your side.
Well, they say opposites attract, right?
And they did.
I was raised in church. My mama raised five children by herself, and we were raised in church, so that's all I ever knew. And then Kelly came in and stole my heart. I fell deeply in love. We went full-time in the ministry, like the year he was in church 1 year and went full-time in the ministry.
Right.
And we gave it our all. We figured we went all in.
Yeah.
That's just the only way you can live for God is all in.
Yeah.
And we we both went all in and got married in 1981 and had our first son at the end of 1982. So we're blessed with 3 amazing boys, 10 amazing grandbabies, life changers there. And then, you know, we pastored for 14 years in a little town called Dinuba in California, had great success there. It was a great church. It was our honeymoon of ministry. It was
Great memory.
It was just it built us, it molded us, it made us in the ministry. And then we left there and went evangelizing for almost 8 years and off and on. And then we ended up in Texas.
You know what I remember about y'all is that you were the kind of guy that could go in and enthuse a church to a point where the attendance would double, sometimes 2.5 times, triple, just with the way you did soul winning and the way you had reach out ministries, and that's phenomenal. And you've had that appeal right here at Christian Life Austin, because even though we do it on a bigger basis, but you realize that you found a place that would do what you always had in your heart. That's why perhaps that y'all are happy here, very happy. You're our prayer pastors, and we're delighted. Now, tell us a little bit about Debbie's situation here and how God came on the scene for her.
I remember we were pastoring in Dinuba. It was on April 1st. Mm-hmm. There was a phone call that came, and she had been seeing the doctor, and the doctor said, "Are you by yourself?" And she said, "No, my husband's here with me." And she said, "You have lymphoma cancer going into stage 3. And we were astonished because we said we had no idea anything like that would come to us. Right. And we just tackled it. And she went through chemo, radiation, and she fought the fight. And we just thought at any moment we could lose this battle. But you know what? God was on our side. Mm-hmm. And she had the faith all the way through. I remember her playing the organ, taking her hat off, throwing it, lost all of her hair, and just worshiping God. It inspired me so much.
That's precious.
And fired up the congregation.
Yeah. 2 words on that sweatshirt, but God, ... But
God.
God can just take us to a level that we never dreamed possible. And it always surprises us, doesn't it? We know He can, but when He does, we're saying, wow. So let's get on into the first quarter, okay? So you're in Austin. A Thursday rolls around back in May of last year, and you decided to buy a Harley because there's a group of Harley riders in our church, and they're called the LOS, the Least of Saints. And every time I hear they're having a ride, I say a prayer because I want them all to survive. They're some of the finest men, but they're just Harley men. They're just Harley guys. And so tell us a little bit about that bike and go into the sequence of what happened on May 31st.
I started riding with the group, and I was having a great time, and I was offered to buy a bike. And so I asked Debbie, "Can I buy a Harley?" And she said, "Yes, you can. You've earned your stripes." So I made a deal and got the bike on a Thursday.
A highway patrolman.
Patrolman had it, and we bought the bike from Ed Messiah's brother. And as we bought it, we brought it home, and she was astonished, like, he really has a Harley. We had it Friday. Saturday, we registered it. And Sunday morning, I was going to ride.
Stop. The clock's run out in quarter 1. Now we're going to quarter two. Here's quarter two. And this is where the story really gets awesome. All right, quarter number two. You're going to the church.
I was going to the church on the bike. Debbie was following me in the car next to me with the grandkids.
Okay.
And the bike had been sitting for a while, and the gas ran out. And so I told her, go on ahead, and I'll stop and get gas. And I pulled off the side to the station. She went on to the church. As I pulled in the station, the gas station pumps had been vandalized. So I had to pull out of the gas station, go to the next gas station 1 block away. And as I pulled out on the frontage, the bike ran out of gas. And I pulled over, parked the bike, locked the handlebars, and was going to walk up to the next gas station and get a can, come back and put gas in it. And from there, all we can put together was when I stepped off the bike, an automobile came off the freeway. It was 6 o'clock in the morning, Memorial Weekend, must have hit me or made the turn on Onion Creek and hit me. And there I was, left on the side of the road. And then from unconscious.
Yes.
And
tragic.
From there, Debbie, you were at the church trying to figure out where I was.
Yes.
Because I wasn't there yet.
Right.
And so you started calling and figuring out what happened there.
Of course, he didn't show up for church for prayer huddle. I went ahead and done prayer huddle.
Right.
I was a nervous wreck.
Right.
We have the constable Sheila here. I went to her and I said, he's on his bike. He's not here. I had called Austin PD. I had called like 3 or 4 places trying to get if I could run a check on him. Nobody could do it. It was during COVID. Nothing was open. Sheila, while I went into huddle, she ran his birth date and his name. And while I was coming back in, I looked at my phone and I had got a phone call from St. David's while I was in huddle that I didn't see. And I looked down as Sheila's coming, I'm reading it, and it says, we're calling from St. David's Hospital on behalf of Kelly Howard. He has been in a motorcycle accident, is what they had assumed. And he is in critical condition in the ICU trauma unit. That's what I got. So, and then Sheila come to me and said, and I said, I just got this text, got to the hospital, called the boys on the way. When we got there, he was incoherent. He was just on the bed, tubes all in him, a lot of lacerations on his face. And there we found out that he had 3 brain bleeds. He had a DAI concussion, is where the brain actually separates from the skull. The best way that his neurological doctor explained it to us is that your brain literally is like a rope and it frays. And when those frays, you can't put a frayed rope back together. So the axons in his brain kind of just exploded. On top of that, he had 3 frontal brain bleeds, which controls all of your emotions, everything.
And the whole left side was just broken to pieces.
The whole left side, he had a left fractured clavicle. He had 7 left broken ribs. His left lung was completely collapsed. His left wrist, his left bicep, his left rotary cuff, his left ankle. He had a bruise from his hip all the way down to probably his knee, a full bruise, his shoulder. Yeah, his left side was pretty much mangled. No hope. The doctors gave me no hope that day. They were like, if he makes it, he will be a vegetable. You'll have to take care of him the rest of your life. There was too much trauma to the brain for him to be able to control anything. But
it was out of his control. It was out of his control. It was a hit and run. You wasn't riding a bike.
I was walking away from it.
Yeah.
And I was incoherent of what was going on. I was paralyzed on my right side too.
But you can tell them what you do remember of the accident. You laying there.
I remember, this is the only thing I remember. I remember sitting in the chair at home one day, and I remember seeing my hand shake. And then I remembered, as I seen my hand shaking, I remember seeing my feet facing on the freeway or on the frontage and looking past, and I said, God, I need your help. This is not good. I feel like I'm going to die. Jesus, help me. That's all I remembered. And then I remembered what was going on. From there, that's the only thing I remember.
And were you not visited by a nurse, a godsend on the side of the road? Yeah.
Debbie, talk about that a little bit. Because that is an amazing story.
That's an amazing story.
That is amazing.
In the trauma unit on May 31st, his nurse was Amy. I never will forget her, and she would always go like this. She said, all we have is there was a lady, and when she was the only one that pulled over, and when she found him, there was no pulse. He was incoherent, but she knew he had internal injuries, so she didn't want to move him or do CPR. And she said, all I did was lift his legs above his heart, and I held them there, and she felt over to see if she could feel a pulse. And she said, I felt a faint pulse once I got his legs above the heart. They don't know her name. They don't know who she was. We don't know. They would always say the nurse. Don't know where she works, but she was a nurse.
Showed up and
Well, we can imagine, can't we?
We can only imagine.
Just imagine, because if that was your guardian angel, buddy, you put her to work that day.
Busy.
she was on duty. She was on duty that day.
She was on duty early that day. All right, so now that's second quarter, and the doctors literally use the word corpse over you. Like, you're not going to make it. We're going to do all we can, but that won't be enough. But God. And so we're going to halftime now. At halftime, so they take you to the locker room. They put you in the hospital. And here you are. Are you going to be able to come out in the second half of your life? You're going to be able to come out and play. And so tell me some of the things that happened those first few days, Pastor, those first few days, and how you started getting your thought process back. You started realizing, I'm alive in this world. You kind of got a grasp, even though it was fuzzy. Kind of tell me where you were, and Debbie, you can interject anytime you want to also.
I had no idea where I was at.
Okay.
I had an inclination in my thinking,
Right.
which we can go into, but it was a fearful thing. I wasn't sure. I knew Debbie was there. The doctors were all around, the tubes, everything that was happening in ICU. And I had to lean on Debbie for my whole instruction on what to do, how to talk, how to eat. She fed me. She would bathe me. She would make sure I was cuddled in a blanket, and I leaned on her, and I just had no control over that during that time. But God was there with me, and I felt that, and I knew I was going to make it through. And Debbie prayed for me. Different ones from the church would come and pray. She told me the church was praying, you were praying, Pastor Brad was praying, and that there was people on Facebook that were praying for me. It encouraged me so much, and I realized, okay, I have no idea where I'm at, what's really going on, but I think I'm going to be all right. I know God is with me. And then you stepped in the scene and started filling me in on all the different aspects of what happened.
Now, what's the length of this time in the halftime at the hospital? What's the length of that?
He was in the ICU trauma for 2.5 weeks.
Right.
And then they moved him on floor while the insurance cleared him to go to rehab for 3 days, around 3 days.
Right.
And then he was in rehab for little over 4 weeks, about 4.5 weeks.
Okay. So that's coming out of halftime. We're going to rehab now. And this is where it gets good. This is where the story starts getting good, because, we've gone through the marriage, and we've gone through the wreck, and now we've been to the hospital, but now we're coming to rehab. And here's where the miracle starts happening in your life. Am I right? This is where it starts unfolding, that the nurses, the doctors are seeing this good night business happening, and it's wonderful. So let's outscore the enemy in the third quarter. Let's talk about the rehab a little bit, okay? Let's punch the ball in the end zone a few times here. Talk about it.
We started walking. We started getting out of our beds.
Right.
And we started going down the hallways. We started walking on the outside the facility, and they had brought me to the stairs, and they said, "We want you to walk up these stairs." And as I was walking up the stairs, they said, "Do you think you could run?" I said, "Absolutely, I think I can run," not knowing that I could. And then I ran up the stairs, and they said, "Go another one." So I ran up the stairs. They said, "Run back down." They had me do it 3 times, and they said, "We want you to know that you broke the record in rehab."
See, there he is. He's competitive. That's him. That's him.
Of the stairs. And so from there, things just began to, I got real aggressive with walking, moving, and they wanted me to slow down.
The can-do spirit was in you, yeah.
I wanted to do it. And Debbie was encouraging to me.
Yeah.
And people were sending me Facebook pictures and encouragements, and I had a little grit in me. I said, Jesus, we're going to make this happen.
Right.
And I thought, I'm not sure where we're going to go with it. I don't know where I'm going to be. And, but I was going to do it with everything I could. And the prayers of the church and the people that were coming in were just encouraging.
Can I add something there? While he was learning all of that, there was a process before that he probably doesn't remember a lot of it, but they would literally put him in a hoist to get him out of bed.
We'll have a picture for this.
Yes,
we'll have
they'll
a picture for this. Yes.
And then for them to teach him how to walk, they would hoist him to the ceiling. From the ceiling, put him in a hoist, and he would just, there was no control, like literally, and they would, the therapist would take towels and strap him around his ankles and tell him left, right. So they were sending signals to the brain to tell him pick up. So yes, he learned how to walk, and basically he was a child that had to learn everything all over again, how to eat, how to talk, but the God thing, Pastor, is literally he was asleep for 5 days. And they said he should have woken up in 2 days, and it took him a little bit longer because of that fraying of the brain. But when he woke up, they started asking him questions, knowing that he wouldn't have any of the answers to them. How long have you been married? 40 years. What's your wife's name? Debbie. How many grandchildren do you have? 9. They were, the only thing he got confused on, he said, it's 2012 instead of 2021. That started the amazement of the doctors, because they were like, this is, if he makes it, it will be a 5-year progress. If he makes it.
If he makes it.
And it was always if.
If he
it
makes
was always if he made it.
You know what? One of the things that I want to mention is just kind of hit my brain. You're a Denver Bronco fan, and John Elway loves this church. When he comes to Austin, we see him. His children are members of this congregation, and he was your hero, 2-time Super Bowl champion and Hall of Famer, number 7, out of Stanford. Yeah, and I kind of like him too. I'll be honest with you, I kind of like him too. But while you were in the hospital, he was here one Sunday, and I think, was it you, Debbie, that corralled him, or his children, his daughter? Kim did, one of our ushers, one of our staff people. Kind of corralled him and said, hey, we've got a guy that you would love. He's a Bronco fan. He's in the hospital. He's hurting. Would you mind sending him a voice message? And so he got on his phone and sent you a wonderful, wonderful message. And, it'd be nice to play it, but I think people, if they walk up to you, could still play it. We won't play it today, but it was just tremendous. And you listen to that. Tell a little bit about it, Kelly. This is good. This is good.
When I received it, I was starting to get a little acclimated back.
Yeah.
I remember watching that video, and it was John Elway calling me by name,
right,
and saying, you're going to make it. You're going to get back in the game. And he was speaking to me, and I thought, oh my goodness, this is John Elway speaking.
The man.
And then in my mind, I thought the whole Bronco team was in my room, and I was just like, yes, I'm going to make it. And it just was something that I always looked to encourage me. When I would get depressed, I'd get kind of discouraged, I would look to that and go, you know what? I am going to make it. I was encouraged. The prayers of the church and the family and my wife.
You keep going back to that, and I love that, because you know where your strength lies. And I love that, Pastor. I love that, Pastor. That's tremendous. Now, let me just add a little addendum. So John invites myself and my son-in-laws to a game in Denver, and we go up there, and we get to have our pick of what we want from the merchandise area. Just pick it up. We're just like kids in a candy store, And I was telling him, don't pick that up. It's too much. That's too much, But we found you a cap and we got you a jersey, and he signed it for you.
He signed it.
And on your Bronco days, you wear it to church and greet people.
It's on my dresser. It's on my dresser.
Yeah. So John still got you in his heart, man. And he'll be down in a few days, and we'll get to see him again. And I'm so happy that he stepped into your world. So this rehab then started progressing probably faster than what they expected. And
Yes,
so,
sir.
and this is when the good neurologist got involved with it all. And let's talk about that a little bit, Debbie.
Yes, his rehab, that he progressed so fast.
Right.
Like, I remember his neurological doctor, Dr. Wong, told me one day, she said, Debbie, I would look in your eyes and I knew you wanted me to give you hope, but I had no hope to give you. There was
Right.
no hope to give you because we had nothing to
Right,
give you.
right.
But she said he has had a miraculous recovery. Like, just
Didn't call it a miracle, but
didn't
miraculous.
call it a miracle, but it was miraculous. We'll
Miraculous,
take
right,
that.
right,
We'll take that because we know what that means.
Right.
But yeah, his recovery was just literally miraculous. It really, really was, Pastor. I mean, you take in,
Yeah.
they say 5 years. He shouldn't be in full recovery for 5 years, and it hasn't even been a year.
No.
It's been 10 months.
Right.
So he had great therapists that just, our spirits were kindred. It's like God just put the right therapist in our path. It
He
just,
always does.
yeah. And Greg, the therapist that taught him how to walk, I mean, our spirits just connected the very first day.
Right.
And he put his whole, just his heart. It wasn't just a patient, it was a heart. His speech therapist, she actually, when we left, she goes, I've never done this, but I want your cell number. I'm going to give you my cell number. I want to stay in contact with you. His occupational therapist just took him to heart and just really worked with him and worked with his injuries and his mind and his mobility and just it was absolutely miraculous.
We had prayer one day with some of the therapists.
Yes, we did.
And it was not normal for them to ask for prayer. And so we had prayer with them. And what I was really encouraged on the day that I was being dismissed, one of the therapists was on vacation, and he requested to come back because he wanted to be there when I left. And 3 of them came because they wanted to say bye to me because they were just astonished on the recovery.
Yeah.
And I thank them,
Well, isn't it said that this was probably the first man or the person that's ever came back to that unit that was alive and
Yes.
well to come back and talk to them and
Yes.
visit with them. So he's kind of like a hero at the hospital now, isn't he?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, his neurological doctor that still sees him said, would he please go back because we don't ever get to have someone come back and show us what happened.
They said 96% don't make it.
Yeah.
Or they have difficulties the rest of their life. They said you're in the 3% or 4% percentile that you have successfully come back.
Yes.
And we can't put our finger on
Yes.
why you
Yes.
come back this way. And I didn't ever take no medication, no painkillers. I just
a little Tylenol.
Tylenol.
Y'all lived on
And
Tylenol.
Jesus, that was it. We just didn't want to do any narcotics.
Little brother Tylenol.
That's it. And they would ask, don't you need something?
Yeah.
Don't you have headaches? I said, no. They said, normally a patient like myself has headaches.
Mm-hmm.
They have problems seeing. They have problems walking. And I was just doing everything.
Motor skills are all
Motor skills, I was
messed
just
up.
doing
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
So
let me just kind of put a little bow on this, and we're not through, but I want to put a little bow on it. I want to get to the fourth quarter. Okay, I want to get to the fourth quarter because here you are, Pastor Kelly, and you are. The doctors say 98% back. I don't know if I ever got to 98% well, but here you are, 98% back to the man that you were on that Sunday morning when you were headed to church and the car hit you. And you're here, and the thing that I love is that your smile never left, but you had some blank eyes for a while when that smile was being, but now the eyes are clear. It's eagle eyes again, and you are Now, you hadn't grown any hair, and of course I hadn't either. We thought about putting on wigs for this, but we didn't. But here you are, still leading our prayer group, still praying for other people to have miraculous things in their life. And you've become a wounded healer. You've become a wounded healer. And that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. You're not sitting over here in the corner in self-pity. You're not walking around trying to get everybody to ogle over you. You're using your gifts with everything you have, because your gifts are more blessed now than ever. Because when you walk through the storm, you can help other people walk through a storm and say there's sunshine on the other side. And you're that kind of person. You're a sunshiny person anyhow, but you really are a hero in this church. You really are. It's just an amazing thing to see how God has taken something that was just absolutely over. It was over. All this brokenness in your body, the brokenness in your mind, the brokenness in your psyche, and He's restored it. Not just one part of it, but He's restored all of you. He restores you whole. He makes you whole. And I really believe that if it was your time to go, you'd have went. But it wasn't your time to go. And you see that, and the rest of us see that, and we realize that you've got a lot of great days ahead of you, and you can help people in areas that some of us can't help people in. And what a joy that is. What a joy. So let's wrap this up this way. So there's a news station that got a call from St. David's Hospital and said, there's a guy named Kelly Howard that has been recovering, doing wonderful, doing great. And so that station reached out to you, and they filmed you. Your story may be international. I mean, because you're a feel-good story in Austin, Texas. And so a couple of days ago, they filmed you over here. We have a little football stadium behind our church. It's called Burger Stadium, and we let them use it while we're not having church. I'm teasing. But you went over there, and the cameraman, the newsman, the interviewer wanted you to run, and you ran around the whole track, and you showed a mile and a half. My goodness, and you ran and didn't fall, and you're quite remarkable. I mean, just from a common sense standpoint, you're quite remarkable. But from the God perspective, you're incredible. You're just incredible. And so that's going to be played. This is going to be broadcast, and I'm just so excited the fact that we can talk about miracles. You know, this is Mental Health Month of honoring people and trying to help people with mental health problems. But now we're going into April, and this will be played in April, and that's Resurrection Month. And you're going to be a model of resurrection, coming back from where you were to be raised to life. And I just think that's cool. So I know I've talked too much here, but I want y'all to just kind of finish how you're feeling right now and how you're going through life right now. You just seem to be everything seems to be. I used to have a dog named Hunky Dory, and so everything became hunky dory in my life. You know, yeah. So everything's good. So talk a little bit about that as we wrap this up.
Me and Debbie are just excited every day about life, about where we're at,
right,
where we've been at,
right,
and where we are now. We're excited about our church. We're
Yeah.
excited about our jobs,
right,
the people that we're meeting. It doesn't matter where we are. We're sharing this story. I was sitting in Chick-fil-A, and I was reading some transcripts about what happened to me, and I started crying, and the manager came up to me. I started sharing with him my story. He starts crying, and he's a Christian. We just sat there and prayed in Chick-fil-A, and it's just
so
something
cool.
every day
Yeah.
that we get to add this
God
to.
put you.
And
Yeah.
me and Deb, we share it everywhere we go.
Yeah.
It's just a tremendous, but God, and that was the whole theme
Right,
of everything that we did.
right,
When they'd say it's going to not work, and Debbie would say, but God.
Mm-hmm.
And so we live with that
Mm-hmm.
saying.
Mm-hmm. But God.
How do you feel?
I feel like, when you go.
Still want me?
Yeah, I still want you. I'll keep him another 40
Hey,
years.
Another 40 years.
We're recording here. Please, we're recording.
I feel like, so many times people have asked me, what have you learned through this? What has God taught you through this? And I think Kelly and I have learned the principle that there's nothing impossible with God.
Nothing.
When you look at the impossibilities, we serve a God that says, let me make that possible.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember Sunday night when I walked out of the hospital, feeling alone, crying. Just 41 years, we'd walked every road together, and he wasn't with me on this road. I was alone.
Right.
And I looked up in heaven and I said, God, I don't understand you. I don't even know how to pray to you. I was lost. I was confused. And a small voice said to me, ask of me. There is power in what you speak. Ask of me and I will do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I just said, God, I want 100%. It was impossible, Pastor. That was impossible.
Right.
But we have learned through this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nothing's impossible with our God.
No.
And what you speak, God will do. There's power in what we speak.
Mm-hmm.
So we just spoke it, and God said, okay, I'll do it.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's been a journey, but God has been, every step of the way, God's just been proved to us time and over what an amazing God we serve. And
Amazing God.
kudos to this man, because he fought hard.
He did.
He fought hard,
Yeah. God needs a vessel.
and he won.
God
That's the
needs
cool
a vessel.
thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
If the Lord can, if the Lord can cause a 90-year-old woman to have a baby with a 100-year-old husband or 99, I promise you, God can do anything. And He said, "There's nothing impossible with me. What's impossible with man is possible with God." So, Pastor Kelly, we love you very much. Debbie, we love you very much, and this church loves y'all. And I just thought that y'all would be a great testimony to share with people who may be going through some broken times, some situations where they feel like it's not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But if He did it for me, He can do it for anybody. God is no respecter of person, and He'll do it. And so, won't you sign off, Pastor Kelly, with something upbeat for everybody out there? Just sign off and say, "This is how I feel about it."
Absolutely. Every day I wake up just ecstatic about life, about living and helping people. And when I see discouragement on people's face, I take the opportunity to just share with them some joy, some life.
Right.
And there's nothing impossible. I have lived long enough, and we have went through enough. Debbie says, "What's our next chapter?" I said, "I don't know. Don't talk about that." I said, you know what? God's been with us in every chapter, and it's a great life, living for God, church, having our children, and having you, Pastor.
Mm-hmm.
You've made a great impact in our lives.
You're kind. You're very kind.
And this
Thank you.
church.
Thank you.
And I mean that.
Thank you. Debbie, you want to sign off?
I'm just so thankful for God, number one.
Yeah.
I'm thankful that He chose to spare Him,
Right.
because I would not want to live this life
Right.
alone and without
Right.
Him. And I am so grateful
Right.
for this church.
Well,
This church
yes.
came in and stood with us like none other. They were my rock. You, Patti, Cass, Brad, the staff was our rock. And God knew to put us here, Pastor.
Yeah.
He knows. And it was I just can't say thank you enough for all, for all that you've done for us during not just this season of our life, but for the last, since 2016.
Well,
You have just made such an impact on our life, and we love you. And
am I
the
getting
church.
red? I'm embarrassed. Hey, folks, we're gonna bring this to a close. But one thing, if you ever come and visit us here in Austin, Christian Life Austin, we're at 4700 Westgate Boulevard, just off Lamar Street, just south of Ben White. If you ever come by and see us, you need to meet this remarkable couple. And they won't be hard to find because they're going to be out there with the people. They're not hiding into some room somewhere. They're not trying to escape in an office. They're right out there in the middle of everything. You'll be able to find Kelly and Debbie. And so I thank you for tuning in today. I hope this has lifted your hearts and lifted your spirits and caused you to believe and not have doubt that God can do anything He said He could. The leper said to Jesus one day, "If you will, I know you can. And Jesus said, I will, be thou whole. So understand that God has a want to help everybody listening today. So may God bless this to you, and I hope it's lifted your spirits, and I hope April is a resurrection month in your life, in your job, in your family, in everything that you do. I hope you're lifted because Jesus is risen. God bless you. Have a great day. We'll catch you next month.